All right, what up, everybody? What up, everybody? Let me get to the spot. All right, good morning, everybody. This is one of it's a Saturday morning, but typically I've had a long Friday night with transportation stuff, and so I had people concerts and all that other stuff with the company. All right, but I was able to get some sleep, so I'm up early on a Saturday morning. Again, this is Plan Your Greatness, and I am your gracious host, Carlton Hamilton. All right, let's get right to it. We always do the weigh-in, and man, I've just been dropping the ball lately. But my daughter and I, we are going to go work out later on today. Been very busy with some stuff, so again, I haven't been eating crazy, so I'm still hovering right around 250. And I want to get back down at least, and I was excited because I was at 243, so close to crossing that 240 barrier. So I got to get right back into it so I can just get myself back on track. But all right, we are moving right along. We are at chapter 8. There are 13 chapters in the book. I'm excited about actually getting to chapter 9 because chapter 9 has some stories. And we'll talk about that when I get to chapter 9. But I'm excited that I'm getting through these chapters and I'm seeing now that there's as I get along in the book, there's more sections in each chapter that I break down in the book. But it's hard to just do one video and just say, hey, this talks about the chapter. So I have to kind of break up the chapter in several pieces. And this is chapter 8. And this has a weird title, but it's called, Hey, Mister, You Forgot Something. And as I talk about the chapter, you'll understand what I'm really getting at. And it's saying that as I was going through my life, and asking myself the 3 questions, there were very particular moments where one of those questions was missing. And to the point where it impacted my life to where I experienced all the things that I experienced. All right. But more specifically, we start with the chapter talking about, I played professional baseball for 9 years. Okay, I had great experiences. There were things that being a professional athlete opened me up to that because I didn't have the focus in in other areas, because I've learned now that I have skills in a bunch of different areas. But because I didn't have the really great focus during my career, there were some things that there was some potential I did not reach. So when I say something was missing, I have to go all the way back to my introduction into baseball, where my mom saw me getting in so much trouble, she signed me up to play baseball at the age of about 10 years old. And so I go and I get to the field, and this is one of the things that I noticed then. Okay, now I notice now that was happening then was there were no coaches. When you started playing Little League Baseball, T-ball and all that stuff, there were no coaches. You signed up in the district, they put you on a team, and then what they call the field coordinators handled all the games, did everything. So parents were just out on the side, because you see right now, you get these parents all involved in these things, and sometimes it just gets messy. So your introduction to baseball is at the age of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All the way up through and where I grew up, 11 years old, no coaches. All right? So follow me along in this. I go down to the field. I say, hey, my mom signed me up for baseball. Here's my sheet. Where do I go? They said, oh, okay. Here's your hat, little yellow hat, canary yellow hat, canary yellow shirt. I'll never forget that. I wish I had saved it. And so they asked me, hey, what position you play? I say center field, because that's all I did, playing around the neighborhood, with my older brothers and everything. Center field, I said, great. So game starts, I run out to center field, and I'm just looking, I'm smelling the grass, my little cheap shoes, I could hear the blades of grass under my feet. Oh, it's just awesome. I'm just sitting in there like, oh man. But I'm sitting there, I'm watching the kid pitch, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this kid can't throw a strike. So I'm about to fall asleep out there. So finally, the last out's made. Woo! We come running in, and I'm sprinting in because I'm like, oh, it's time to hit. So I run to the bat rack, grab a helmet, and I grab a bat, and I start moving toward I'm going up to hit. And one of the field coordinators grabbed me by the back of the shirt. I mean, literally almost, knock my feet almost go up under, and I'm like, oh, what the heck is going on? And he's like, no, it's Carlton, it's not your turn. Or Carl, they call me. Everyone calls me Carlton now. But back then, I was always just known as Carl. Well, Carl, no, it's not your turn. I said, well, when do I hit? And the guy goes, what position you play? I said, center field. They say, you bat eighth. I go, eighth? And I go, well, who's batting first? And they go, the pitcher. And I go, next week I'm pitching. All right, we'll get into that a little bit later on. Because I never really wanted to pitch. Never. So I got to wait, sit on the bench, go out in the field. Finally, I get up to bat. So I get in the batter's box. I'm trying to move through this quickly. Get in the batter's box. I got my little, and those of you that are around my age that was watching baseball in the 70s, there was a hitter with the Boston Red Sox, number 8, left fielder. Some of you already know who that was, Carl Yastrzemski. So he would stand in the batter's box with his hands really high up. You got to get up really high, because if I do it the other way, you won't see my face. But he used to have his bat like this. So this is me. His name is Carl. He's a left-handed hitter. So I'm standing in the box like this, and all of a sudden my brother is standing outside the fence behind home plate, and of course you hear in the chatter, hey, batter, 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 hey, batter, 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 hey, batter, batter. And he throws a pitch, throws that ball up in there, and I take the pitch. Boom. Strike! Now, a couple of things happened at that moment. One was the obvious comparison between playing organized baseball and playing neighborhood ghetto baseball. Okay? Huge difference. And this is why some of the reasons why we have issues with the difference in style of the black players, the Latino players, and the white players. The white players, even though they, and what's interesting is, you go back to that movie, The Sandlot, there was a mishmash of kids in there, and they played ball in that Sandlot movie like we would play in the black neighborhoods. And this is the distinction I'm making. When I played organized ball, I stood up there in the box, and all I heard was, hey, batter, batter, hey, batter, batter. And the chatter from my teammates, come on, Carlton, get a good pitch, get ready, hit that ball hard. Okay, completely different than what was said in the black neighborhood. Okay, here I am up to bat. I'm going up to bat in the black neighborhood. You didn't hear anything from your teammates. They were just like, no, just nothing. They were just watching. But what you heard was this crazy chatter from the other team. Oh man, look at that fool up there. Oh, look at his pan. Man, look at his flood. Boy, he must be expecting a rainstorm or something like that. Look at that fool. Look at that shirt. I bet your mama bought that shirt from Kmart or whatever. Oh, they getting on you, as little kids can. Snapping on you all day, like playing the dozens, whatever. That's what you're used to. Now, here's the deal. It was never done in a malicious way to hurt you. And this is what people constantly miss and constantly get on these Latin players and black players for flipping bats or watching home runs or styling and everything like that. first of all, it's a game to have fun. You should always have fun. I don't care if you are getting paid for it. It's a job, but have fun. And the other thing is, if you are so busy worrying about what I'm doing, I got you. I got you. Because now you're not focusing on what you're supposed to be focused on, is that it's getting me out or stopping me. Okay? So I didn't hear that chatter. So I was able to just laser focus on the game. So back to my at bat. I'm in the box, pitcher throws this ball, and I step out the box, and I go over to my brother, and I go, Daryl, is this as fast as the pitchers are going to throw? And he looks at me like, duh, yeah. And Daryl is 4 years older, 4.5 years older than myself. And these are the people that I used to play with. So I'm playing with friends of my brother Dale, Anthony, Daryl, Greg. These people are 3, 4, 5, 6 years older than me. And I'm using all of their equipment. And in order for me to play, I have to be on top of my game. I mean, my game has to be excellent as far as catching, swinging, hitting, everything. So here I am now with age-appropriate equipment. The flame-tempered Henry Aaron bat, which I grabbed, felt like a toothpick, but it was perfect. And now I'm facing kids that are throwing my age-appropriate speed. I'm 10, but I'm playing with 10 and 11-year-olds. And so the next time I step back in the box, my batting stance completely changed. Instead of going from way up here, I put that bat right behind my head. And instead of having my feet shoulder width apart, which some parents call to, railroad tracks, like that, I put both of my feet together. And I curled up like a cobra. So the next time that pitch came in, I swung as hard as I could, and I squared that ball up and hit a missile right over the second baseman's head, split the center fielder and the right fielder, and it hit the fence and stuck in the fence. I know there's probably maybe 1, 2, 3, there's probably maybe 4 or 5 kids, a field coordinator, maybe, I don't know. Okay, you got 9 kids on one side, 9 kids on the other, and then you had 2 field coordinators. So there was possibly 20 people that would remember that moment. Because I remember it plain as day. The ball stuck in the fence. Now, I'm thinking to myself, I'm 10 years old. I don't think I hit the ball that hard, but I think it was just a perfect storm that ball lodged in the fence. It was probably freshly painted fence of silver. The fence was painted silver. Ball stuck in the fence. Hat bobbling on my head as I round the bases, and I could see him still trying to pull the ball out of the fence. And I circled the bases, and I had inside the park home run. That was my first at bat. Second at bat, I come up. I still square up the ball hard, but I don't get it in the air. And I hit a one-hop rocket that hits the second baseman right in the chest. Ball falls down. I get to first base, and now the kid is on his knees crying. And that was my introduction to baseball as far as hitting and fielding. Now, the next week, as you heard me say before, I said, man, I'm pitching next week because I wanted to bat first. So that was my only objective, was to bat first to get the most at bats. But here's what happened. I get on the mound, no warm-ups or anything. I just kind of, you're a 10-year-old, you just kind of wiggle your arms. Like, are you loose? Yeah, I'm loose. So you've been running around, chasing butterflies and whatever you're doing before the game. Oh, I'm pitching today. So I get up on the mound and I'm standing there and I'm waiting. Friend in the neighborhood, Walter Simpson. I think Walter passed, so rest in peace, Walter. But he contributed to a great memory. Walter puts on all the gear. And just think about, this is the early mid-1970s. So the catching gear isn't all ergonomically correct and pieces. It was all one piece, which had the groin protector, and then he's got the big helmet and the gloves and everything. And so Walter gets back there behind the plate, and I go, you ready? And he goes, yeah, I'm ready. And so I'm not thinking anything. I'm thinking of me playing catch with my older brothers. So I wind up Whoom. See, I'm a lefty. I wind up, throw the pitch, and thunderbolt arm, and next thing you know, it tips off of his glove. It hits him right in the helmet, knocks Walter all the way back. The helmet and the face mask comes flying off, and Walter tumbles over backwards. And so everyone's like, "Oh my goodness!" And so I run in there too, and I'm looking at him. I'm going, "Oh, Walter, you okay?" He's like, yeah. Now, as we fast forward now today, it's obvious to see that Walter had a concussion. I knocked the crap out of that boy's head. Bam! So Walter shakes it off, and rung his bell. Walter puts his helmet back on. And so I slow down a little bit, throw it so he could catch it. And then I proceed to strike out, I believe, 21 batters. Okay? So now think about it. In a Little League game, there's only 18 outs. There's 6 innings. 3 times 6 is 18. But I end up striking out 21 batters in my very first game. Struck out the first 8 in a row. Okay? And then something dropped or whatever, or something like that, or whatever. But anyway, I struck out. No, wait a minute. That was another game. Anyway, I struck out. That was another game. Let me get this straight. The first game I pitched, I only pitched 3 innings. I struck out the first 8 in a row, and the last kid grounded out to short. But that experience that I had with Walter was actually the next full season that I had. But it was just my introduction into baseball. I'm kind of getting the stories mixed together. But just to fast forward with that story, I ended up striking out a whole bunch of the kids, and that was my introduction into baseball as far as pitching, because I never wanted to. I only did it at that level because I was actually able to bat first. Now, what I'm getting at, I got a little sidetracked with telling that story, is some people think, because I ended up playing baseball for almost a decade, that was my what. Okay, and let's get back to talking with the book and everything. That was my what. No, it was not. My first love was basketball. The first sport that captured my attention and made me want to just play it all the time was basketball. But there was an incident that I talk about, and I talk more specifically in chapter 9. That's why I wanted to bring that up earlier, is that I was cut from the sophomore, which would be considered kind of sophomore JV basketball team, for bad grades. And that was a very pivotal moment in my life. And the letter that I write to myself in chapter 9, what I'm doing is writing a letter to myself that I wish I had known how to handle that situation, or wish my father had stepped in at that moment, or my parents had stepped in, or somebody that would have been a mentor to step in at that moment to give me some insight on how I should have approached that situation. I've had years to think about it, and so I'm going back and writing a letter to myself and giving myself the advice that I wish I would have gotten. And then I let myself know that, hey, this is what your life is going to become. But there's this moment that could have very been impactful and maybe change your life for a different direction. So I share that a little bit. But again, I was a great baseball player. But people have asked me, they would say, well, then why didn't you go coach or do something after baseball? I do a little tutoring. I do some instructions. But it's never been something that I was super duper passionate about. Now, what I do understand now is I had started on a path of becoming a teacher because I wanted to coach the sports. I was going to coach baseball just because I knew the game. But specifically, I wanted to coach high school basketball. But my crime came shortly after that, which basically has put me in a position where it's very difficult for me to have to get a teaching position. All right, so again, so why I never did that as far as baseball, just because it really wasn't something. Now, this goes back to what I was talking about in this chapter, where I said, "Hey, Mister, you forgot something." While I was playing professional baseball, I clearly asked what I wanted. And if you can go back to one of the older videos, it's called the Mitchell Report, where myself and a classmate clearly declared what we wanted out of our lives. And then we end up meeting later on to confirm he had become a doctor and I had become a professional baseball player. Both of us clearly decided what we wanted. But what was missing on my end was I never fully asked myself why. Because once I decided I wanted to be a baseball player, and then that moment came that I was signing that contract, after I signed that contract, I should have sat there, and this is where mentors come in to help you with that. And again, I'm not throwing my dad up under the bus or anything. He had his own things as he was living. But I know how important decisions are going to come up with my children in their lives, and I am going to be there with them to help them guide and just ask them, say, what are you thinking? What are some of the plans and goals that you're setting out to accomplish? At that moment when I signed that contract, what I should have said was, why do I want to be a professional baseball player? Because again, I'm sharing with you, that was not my first love. So since I'm now embarking on this other career, something that I just happened to be good at, I was a great athlete. I could have done anything. If I had focused on football, I'd have been in the NFL as a quarterback. I know it, just because I ended up growing to be almost 6'3", at 200 something. I would have trained like a football player, and I probably would have been about 210 as a quarterback. And I could run fast and I could throw, which was obvious by me being a professional baseball player. Pitcher. Okay? So I should have asked myself, Carlton, why do you want to play? Do you want the fame? That's fine. That's a clear why. Do you want to be famous? Do you want to be on TV? Do you want to make all-star teams? Do you want to just make millions and millions of dollars? Do you want to take care of your mom? At the end of all of this, do you want to make the Hall of Fame? See, those are very clear whys. And had I asked myself that why, it would have forced me to do certain things. You want to make it to the Hall of Fame? That requires hard work. It requires study. It requires discipline. You don't see very many guys that are making the Hall of Fame that you look back at their career and they were just an absolute mess. Okay? They did something that allowed them to be disciplined enough to perform on the field. Yeah, we got some, we could talk about some Michael Irvins or some Chris Carters and some Lawrence Taylors, these people that have had bumps in the road, but they were gifted enough athletically, and then they gained enough of the focus where they could actually perform on the field at a super duper high level. All right? So there was an element of why in there. There was something that was motivating those guys beyond them just saying, I want to make it to the National Football League and I want to make it to the Hall of Fame. Clear goals, but what is it, why? Why are you getting up every morning? Why does it matter? When you don't feel your best, how do you still perform at a high level? See, that makes a difference. Because if you never get to that why, you're sure not going to be able to picture it. And that's what happened to me. I was just going through a professional career. It was my secondary choice. I would have loved to have played basketball. But you see, it's as I go over that, it's difficult. It brings up, not regret, but just, moments where I wish I would have been more guided in going through that process. But just understanding that why is so critical. It sits there in the middle for a very specific reason. You don't ask why you want to do something, then what, and then, try to imagine it. No, you got to know what specifically you want. Then you have to be able to fuel it with a why, something that just burns why you are doing it every day. Because again, you're not always going to feel your greatest. There's going to be other stuff going on, and you're going to need to be able to either organize those things or block them out so you can focus. All right. So with that said, we're gonna close this out. Here's my challenge to you on this part of chapter 8. I want you to ask yourself the three questions. Again, what do you want? Why do you want it? And really define that why. Like why? Because in the book, I talk specifically about it should bring you to tears when you think about why you're doing what you're doing. All right? And that why is so critical. Then you'll move to the picture will be very clear. And then it'll move you into what I've said before is your philosophy will be higher than your feelings. You'll wake up, you may not feel your best, but you're not going to allow that to stop you from doing what you want to do. All right, this is Plan Your Greatness, and thank you guys for all joining me today. This one really touched me, but I got some more that's going to come out with Chapter 8 as well. But again, I'm going to say this again. Plan your greatness. Why? Because no one else will. I'll see y'all next time.